His plan made sense until he made one decision that made the whole thing stupid. Thanos was right is a quote said by many people, many fans, and many characters within the Marvel Universe ever since the blip, ever since he snapped the universe in half. Many people have debated, was he right? Many explanation videos have been made about this. Here lies the true question. Was Thanos right? Would his plan have actually helped the universe and all the sentient beings living in it? His goal was to kill half the life of the universe so that overpopulation wouldn't be an issue, that there would be enough people with enough plentiful resources, and the universe would flourish. Now, there are obviously logical issues that people over time have brought up about this ever since. Are the resources in the MCU finite when we have planets that are self-sustaining? We have all these cosmic entities, overpopulation being inevitable anyways, even if you cut them in half now, will this problem re-emerge later? More harm than good potentially by killing all these people, especially killing off your best heroes that can stop extinction level events that occur a lot in the MCU. But I think even with his current plan, he could have actually solved for all of these problems, all of these logical traps. He could have actually solved all of them, but he made one mistake, one dire mistake that makes his whole plan so implausibly fucking low IQ and stupid. We have to talk about it, all right? But it wasn't in Infinity War. The mistake he made was in Endgame, after the deed was done. By Endgame's time, he is retired from his days of being a warlord badass. After he snaps the universe in half, he decides, I'm gonna go on a farm. And not only am I gonna go on a farm and just chill away from it all, I'm going to destroy the Infinity Stones. I'm gonna use the stones to destroy the stones, reducing them to atoms, because anything less would make me susceptible to temptation if I keep having a weapon that powerful, that great. Which, you know, okay, makes sense. You want to stop yourself from having temptation. That's an honorable villain right there, right? This is because your goal was to create a universe that would flourish due to population control. Resources are finite, as is one of his main points. His own home planet was destroyed by this very thing, right? Resources are being finite, wars, famine, outbreak, all that type of shit happened on his planet. He doesn't want that to happen anywhere else, so he's trying to stop it. The balance you created, though, Thanos, is in and of itself finite. Even with a weapon like the Infinity Gauntlet, where finite's supposed to be removed from the equation, the balance you created is finite, right? More than half will die as a result of this. If you kill half the people, do you not think that the domino effect from those deaths, those emerging deaths, will cause a cascade that will destroy a lot more lives? And remember, Thanos is very specific. Before even getting the stones, this man was cutting populations in half when conquering different worlds. He always had this ideology. He was stuck on it. But I want to ask, if these populations were already halved prior to the stones, when you snap, when Thor is about to kill you, do these guys get halved in half again? Like, was Thanos thinking in himself, okay, when I snap, have the entire universe except the ones that I've already halved before, like 4 years or 10 years before in this specific world or those worlds? Was he thinking this, or did he just say half everything? And so now this planet that we saw, like Gamora's planet, are they halved again? Are they suffering this shit again? Is Thanos making things worse? Not only that, what about all the people that are in planes, helicopters, and ships? People who are doing things that can actually secure planets outside of space, for example. What happens if they all die? A lot of destruction's about to happen that'll kill a lot more people. Apocalyptic level events are about to occur. What happens when you have an unbalanced population? What happens when you've killed off half the people, and like there's like 90% of the gender is gone, and there's only one gender remaining, and they can't populate again? What happens if there are too many women, too many men, too many of one species in a different alien planet that can't reproduce, right? Maybe did you mitigate for these situations? What happens to pre-existing damaged ecosystems, Thanos? For example, extinct species are still extinct. You didn't solve for this, all right? You didn't say bring those back but have this blah blah blah. Invasive species are still set to roam free and cause damage to different environments. Atmosphere, environmental issues, viruses, diseases, and disorders. You understand that even in your balanced universe, there's still going to be things that don't make the situation fair, and you've exacerbated them by having all the people. You've exacerbated the natural issues. Think about it, right? If a certain government, I'm not going to name any names, but if a certain government destroys one terrorist cell, and then it leaves a power vacuum for 5 different terrorist cells that causes an even worse terrorist organization, imagine that happening on a natural level and a societal level in multiple planets across the universe, right? Did Thanos think it through that he could mitigate for those circumstances? He could have if he kept the stones intact. If he kept the gauntlet and didn't have this whole martyr honor thing where he destroyed it because he didn't want to risk temptation. If you kept the gauntlet, you could have ran checks and balances on this little experiment. This blip experiment. And then maybe redone it or done things that could mitigate the effects of it later on. You know, if Thanos kept the gauntlet, he could have found the flaws in the system that he created and fixed them permanently. So he could have learned from the first initial blip, still keeping the idea of a blip in mind. That's his main goal all along. But then retroactively solving for all the issues that come from it so that he can keep it a fixed game. You understand what I mean? So, for example, if he saw the issues caused by the blip, overpopulation is still going to be a problem, the lack of resources is still going to be a problem, all these natural things are still going to be a problem, you could have reused the reality stone to create more resources as a result, or change the sentient biology of everyone. Maybe change their reproduction, change the digestive system so that they can only eat so much or reproduce so much, blah, blah, blah. You could have done that to make your life easier. You could have gone back in time and fixed things and been very specific with your half-blip snap. Very specific. You could have thought it all the way through. You could have stopped yourself from getting stabbed by Thor's hammer and put yourself in a different location entirely. So you could have thought things through. You could have done all this if you kept the stones intact. So you could have reduced genetic variance, reduced reproduction ability, increased resources, used the soul stone to choose specific people to keep maybe, remove entropic disasters and disease. Any one of these things you could have done as a way to fix all the issues caused by your initial blip if you want to truly care about balance and fairness in the universe, which Thanos does as a big part of his character. If you destroy it, you lose all of that. If you destroy it, you lose the entire ability to do that. I'm not saying your plan wouldn't work temporarily. It would, Thanos. But there's so many issues that come that don't emerge in the split seconds right after the blip. It's a long-term issue. And you see, you didn't actually solve anything. You temporarily put hot glue on the searing wound that's going to stretch wider and wider and wider as the years go by. And it's going to be worse than before. So now we're back to square one where you have a team of Avengers trying to kill you. You have all these new problems, all these planets going to famine, more war happening as a result of this. You could say, okay, well, Thanos doing this is actually a character issue, not a logical issue. Thanos is, one, he's a sociopath. Two, he's a warlord. Three, he grew up on a planet where his whole mentality was shaped by this trauma that he had of his planet suffering at the hands of overpopulation and all this shit. So his plan was this. He didn't want to change too much outside of the universe because of this, because he only thought about this all of his life. That's fine. You could make the perfect argument that this was all consistent with Thanos' character despite the logical inconsistencies. The whole point was Thanos is fucked up by things that happen and he can't see another way out of it but this one specific blip. That is very problematic, making him a villain, but a hero in his own eyes. That makes sense. Here's the thing, in Endgame, after observing the issues caused after the blip, his past self, which is, by the way, only 5 years before Thanos, so you can't say, oh, but he grew wise after so many years. It was 4 or 5 years before Infinity War. His past self came to the present and said, now I know what I must do. After seeing all this shit that you guys have done, coming back in time to try to stop me, I will reduce this universe to atoms and start over. His whole thing about balance and justice, all that's gone because he's going to destroy the entire universe and start over and create it in his own image. So now all of his goals have shifted. So he does have the ability to observe the issues with the initial blip and plan that he used and adapt off of it, especially if he has the Infinity Gauntlet in his grasp. So even though his character is obsessed with that one idea of the blip, even in Endgame, unless you want to buck it up to a character change and the writing, because a lot of people complain that why did Thanos randomly just say, no, I'm destroying the whole universe? It makes him more of a cliche villain. A lot of people had that complaint with this scene, but I'm going to go by the MCU's rules. A character who was all about the blip and fairness and balance threw that all away when he realized, okay, my plan didn't work, I'm going to do something different now. Which means, in my opinion, if he hadn't destroyed the stones in the regular timeline, he could have used the reality stone, he could have used the time stone, and would have still held up with the character established in Infinity War and Endgame. So, with that being said, the initial plan is dumb as fuck. Thanos, brother, you destroyed the ultimate weapon, my friend. You created this system in which you thought having this population. Now that I think about the plan is really fucking stupid. You have the greatest weapon in the entire universe, and your ultimate end-all be-all plan is to cut the universe's life in half. I'm not saying Thanos knows about cosmic entities like death, time, blah, blah, blah. You could have... I don't buy the fact that Thanos doesn't know about any cosmic entities. If Gore the God Butcher knows about eternity, you're telling me Thanos doesn't know that at least time exists, or eternity, or he hasn't heard of the Living Tribunal in all of his years stretching across the universe. He hasn't heard maybe of the TVA, maybe somewhere. I don't know. I just feel like if you are Thanos, I feel like there's way grander ambitions you could have than just, I'm going to cut the universe in half and just let it be after that. I think the initial plan he had is kind of stupid. The hypothesis that having the entire universe will make everything good again is fine if it's temporary. And even then, that's problematic because you're killing a lot more people than you think. But the whole overpopulation thing could be solved temporarily. But you have to know that if things can overpopulate once, they can do it again. And you have to know that people will get riled up by the fact that half their family is missing, half their loved ones are missing, right? And more wars are going to start as a result of this, more violence is going to start. You have to know these things. Even if you are Thanos, a character who has this mindset for years because of the stuff that happened to him in his past and is perfectly anomalous character, logically you've had to thought this through and said to yourself, nah, it's still going to be good. I'll destroy the stones and it'll still be okay. Which makes this plan really, like, I think, does he have an extra chromosome or something? Like, it makes it really fucking stupid. Like, I like it more than Thanos is just a simp for death in the comics, right? I want to fuck death badly. Although that's funny as hell. Thanos is like Denji from Chainsaw Man, right? It's kind of still stupid. A lot of people were like, yo, Thanos is right, though. You gotta be honest. I'm like, Thanos is right, like, up until the point when you realize he's not. Up until the point when you realize he's literally not thought things through past level 1. And there's like 4 levels of this shit. One level being, okay, the initial shit, what happens after, then what happens when shit gets really bad and I have to do it again, then what happens when I have to do it again, what happens when I have to create a system that can solve for all these things, and what happens when I have to back up that system. And then only then, when do I eliminate the stones? He only thought like to level 1 and then maybe to level 5 without skipping all the steps in between. Like, this doesn't make any sense, my friend Thanos. You have to answer for this. Too bad you got snapped away by Tony Stark. Which, by the way, I gotta know. When Tony snapped, was he in his mind? I needed to understand how the snap works. When these people are snapping, what are they thinking of? Oh, half of them die. So when Thanos snapped, half the universe dead right now, please. Done. Including all the people I've already halved in my conquest to get these stones. Which is not fair at all and balanced because you'd already have them. But okay, maybe he had time to think about that. Tony, you snapped. I want Thanos and his people gone. Would Gamora not count as Thanos' people in your eyes, technically? Did Tony meet Gamora prior to that, so he would have known she was in his army now? Do Nebula... I guess Nebula technically doesn't count as her, but Gamora at that point, up until she turned, was one of Thanos' guys, and Tony didn't know. So how many people that are related to Thanos died as a result of Tony snapping? This is a crazy theory. How specific was he? I want Thanos and all of his soldiers right now on this planet to die. Was he thinking that? I don't think so. I think he's like, Thanos and his goons die now. Gamora, at that point, in that timeline, counted as one of his goons. Even though she turned, Tony didn't know she turned. Right? Unless maybe the universe knew she wasn't one of his goons. Okay, fine. How many goons on different planets got killed because of that? Indirectly. Maybe there was a son of a goon that said praise Thanos because his dad psyoped him to do it, and Thanos accidentally killed that son and then caused this cascade of violence and all this shit. You gotta be thinking here. You gotta really think closely. What's happening when these snaps are going down? With Hulk, when he snapped, it's very specific. Everyone who got snapped away in the blip, bring them back, right? That's fine. You're very specific here. With Tony, I want Thanos and all of his goons gone now. There's a lot more goons of Thanos's that exist in this universe. Well, and by the way, are we talking about like just this timeline or all timelines, blah blah? You know, like it's just weird. The Infinity Stones, because they can transcend the timelines, right? Like, or maybe they can't. I don't understand. I feel like there's a lot of issues that could be caused by such a general snap that the movies didn't touch on. That's a really cool theory to play around with. Who actually died in the day of that snap? You could set up a really cool villain by that. Were there remnants of Thanos' goons that died? Did Tony accidentally kill a couple babies? A couple dogs? That could have been seen as Thanos' thugs technically. It caused a lot more issues than he thought. It's interesting. thing to think about. That's enough schizo for today. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a mission to take over Hollywood. But the army must keep growing. If you want to suggest video topics to me, or talk about your favorite movies or favorite film theories in a community with like-minded individuals, join the Zafy Discord now. Link is in the description and the comment section as well. Join us. This movement is just beginning. We're taking over Hollywood, one coke line at a time.